Mr. Happy Living here, and I'm happy to be broadcasting from WITV 7 in the beautiful Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, USA. Hey, friends, come and join me for a month and imagine how wonderful you'd feel living the unique and distinct life that you were put on this planet to live, doing work you love, with people you love, in places you love, and all the while creating something of real value for others. Well, that's what I call a life of significance. And I can tell you, it makes for a very happy life. And so can my friend Robert Paylor. And he's here to share his unique and distinct journey to his life of significance. But before we bring him on, I'd like to share a poem that we created to thank him for being our guest star today. It's called When the Body Says Never. And it goes like this. Once forged in collision and speed, strength earned on grass and bone, then doctors spoke in final terms, arms still, legs still, hope withdrawn. When the body says never, silence fills the room. Words like again and someday quietly removed. A future folded into a single sentence no one should be asked to carry alone. When the body says never, spirit still stirs. Not loudly, not quickly, but breath by breath. Listen to Robert's journey of faith and grit. From paralyzed to powerful again, he refuses to quit. Hey, Robert, welcome to the show.
Matt, I am ready to run through a brick wall. That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. So get us started by telling us what you're doing these days to make your mark of significance on the world.
It's amazing. This journey has just been incredible of going from D1 athlete, national championship game to on the field, can't move or feel anything below my neck from a spinal cord injury. Doctor tells me I'm never going to walk again, never move my hands. I'll be lucky if I can feed myself. Now I can walk 500 yards in my walker. I don't know if anyone can see my body here, but I am talking like an Italian, moving my hands everywhere. And I live this incredible life of purpose now, sharing this story and sharing these tools that have helped me to overcome what paralyzes me. I think that's so important because we're all paralyzed by something. Think grief, think stress, think burnout. All these things I think are just as real. It can be just as crippling as any physical paralysis. So I go
Mhm.
across the country now sharing my story and just released my first book of last year, Paralyzed to Powerful, to help people think about what's paralyzing them, share my story, and then most importantly, those tools that I think can really help them.
Yeah, very good. So what was the impetus to put your story into words now?
It was finding purpose, is what it was all about. You know, when I wasn't able to play rugby anymore, I lost my purpose. That's what
Mm,
got me up out of bed in the morning. That's what got me excited. And I'm a really optimistic guy, but I knew I was never going to play rugby ever again.
mm.
And it started first out of necessity. One of my best friend's mom started up a GoFundMe campaign to help pay for my rehab expenses. I'm sure, as you can imagine, breaking your neck is not a good financial decision. We needed help. So we opened up this page. People were donating just in droves. What they contributed to me changed my life. But in that, I'd share these updates. And,
Mm,
you know, I'm taking my first steps. I'm moving my hands for the first time. And people are confiding in me, Robert, I'm battling stage 4 cancer. I just
mm.
lost a loved one, but seeing your fight, your faith, and your perseverance, I'm moving forward. Thank you. And I thought, that's it. That's my purpose and the gift that came from this injury. So ever since then, these last 8.5 years, I've just continued to share this story. And in that book format, I think has been great to really open up my heart fully and put it in someone's soul.
Awesome. So how has speaking and writing, they kind of go hand in hand, changed the way you view your own journey?
You know, it's made me reflect. It's been very cathartic because, as you can imagine, going back to those moments in great detail in my mind and in my heart are so difficult. And I remember it all. I wasn't unconscious for a second. And I mean, I
Oh, is that right?
remember
Wow.
being on that field and thinking, what's going to happen with my life? I remember being in that hospital room, being told I would never walk or move my hands again if I even survived. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't eat. I lost 60 pounds in a month.
Mm,
Going there, I think I'm really forced to in speaking and authorship and sharing the story any way I can. And it's in those dark moments that I'm really able to appreciate just how much light there is now. That
mm,
contrast really just shows how amazing all these little gifts and big gifts I have and my life really are. So it's in speaking and writing that I'm thinking, no tears in the writer, no tears in the reader. If I want people to go there, I have to go there myself. And it's helped me to just further extract all these gifts from my suffering, from that hardship.
Yeah, yeah. As I was preparing for this, one of the things I was thinking about is, okay, that's great. Book, speaking engagements, look how happy he is. But
Yeah.
what about the rehab? What has your rehab taught you about strength that you didn't know about before? Because I
You
can't,
know,
you say you can imagine what it's like. No, most of us, we cannot imagine what it's like. So take us through the grind of the rehab.
the rehab's grueling. So at first you just do what you can do. So at
Mhm.
first that was me just working on being able to sit upright in a chair for more than 10 minutes without passing out. My body was that weak. I had so many breathing problems and blood regulation issues. So you start there. And then, you start working on, okay, I need to relearn how to roll my body when I'm laying down in bed. I need to be able to learn how to pick up a fork, pick up my phone, flip over playing cards, moving marbles into jars, little things. You can't get lost in how frustrating it is, though. This is your task at hand. This is how you get better. It requires an intense amount of humility to bring yourself down from where I was putting 405 pounds on my back and squatting it. And I'm just trying to put marbles in a jar. But I took on my challenge. And as I continue to get back movement, here I am. I work out every single day. It's been 3,188 days since my injury. I keep track of every single one of them because I use them so intentionally and realize that each one of these days is a gift. And now I get up into my walker. I walk as far as I can. My maximum is 500 yards. Usually on a day-to-day basis, I'll get like 300. And then I'll go to my bed. I'll work on sit to stands. I'll do some static standing after that, working on my balance. And by the end of it, my legs are like wet spaghetti noodles. These things ain't going nowhere. But it's in that daily consistency that I find this progress. It's not really noticeable day to day, but you zoom out weeks, months, years, and it's just undeniable that that daily grind has really been paying off.
Yeah, and you know what strikes me as you're telling us that it's talk about just the fact that you're getting up and you have work to do,
Mhm.
important work to do. That's where a lot of joy and pleasure is. You used to your work used to be getting prepared for a rugby game. Now it's to do better at the marbles. But
Yep.
nevertheless, it's work towards purpose.
hmm You have to have it. And I talk to a lot of people who freshly had a spinal cord injury, and very understandably, there's a lot of depression that comes with
Yeah.
an injury like this. And it's because you've lost your purpose, your mission, your work. And what I really encourage people to do is find that mission, find that work. First, very much of your mission is in that physicality, but beyond that, you need to learn how to set like just fun goals. Like, I just want to travel this year. I want to learn how to camp again, or go on a road trip. I want to like set plans, have parties and gatherings that I'm looking forward to. You need to have some sort of mission, something you're looking forward to in the future. I think that really affects how you feel in the present.
All right. And the last thing while we're on this significant these days, just tell us a little bit about the joy that your wife and your new son
Yeah.
are bringing to your life.
It's everything, Matt. I mean, when I had this injury, I looked in the mirror and I was so ashamed of what I saw. I went
Mm.
from D1 athlete, 6'5", 245 pounds, to I'm looking in the mirror, I see the ridges in my sternum, the atrophy all over my body. I thought, who would ever want to love this and take on these sacrifices? My wife does and will for the rest of her life. Every day she makes that choice. And she showed me that my worth isn't in my physicality. And it's
Mm.
not exactly how I look, it's in who I am on the inside that's worthy of her love and her life. And then through this love, we've received just the most incredible gift in the absolute world with our first baby boy. He was born on December 15th of 2025 this last year.
Whew.
And just easily the greatest blessing that we have. It's just the blessings continue to come and we're just so grateful for it.
Very good. All right. Thank you, Robert. Now let's do some mathematics.
Yeah.
So our friends all around the world can get to know you through our happy formula. It's very simple, but it's very powerful. And it goes like this: power plus purpose equals happy. So let's
Mhm.
start with power. What are your personal practices for building up the power that you need to get things done, whether it's physically, mentally, financially, spiritually, emotionally? In other words, Robert, what do you do on a regular basis to create the power you need to take great care of yourself and your loved ones and still have plenty left over so you can be a giver to others.
Yeah, I think power is all about consistency. I think it's about that daily choice many times a day to get up out of bed and give a full effort. That's where power really lies. I think that's where my greatest strength is, because I can walk 500 yards, but I'm not nearly as physically powerful as I once was. But I think it's in this physical weakness that I've gained so much strength. I've built these really strong habits to be able to
Mm.
give a full effort each day. I think that that's where power really lies. Lean into those things that you can control, which is always going to be your effort and always going to be your ability to give your best on a given day. So focus on that. That's where you find your power.
Yeah, very good. All right, Robert, let's talk my favorite power generating concept. It's called a Kaizen state of mind. And I don't know if you've heard it before, but I know you must be using it to pull off what you've pulled off. So it's this beautiful Japanese idea that small incremental improvements add up over time to yield great big results. And it's powerful, so powerful because it's about your mindset, not your circumstance. Kaizening
Mhm.
life is knowing I can always do something better tomorrow than today. And it creates this gentle, relentless, never-ending power that keeps lifting me higher and higher day after day after day. So, Robert, how does Kaizening your life help you increase your power to continuously become more so you can continue giving more and impacting even more lives?
It's everything. That incremental approach has just been everything in my recovery because I don't have this steady progress that I can really track. And I don't even know where my progress is going to lead. I could spend the rest of my life working at this and not get out of this wheelchair. But in trusting this process and trusting that my full effort is going to be able to give me that physical return, I mean, here I am doing things that were once said to be completely impossible. I would be told I would be lucky if I would could pick up a piece of pizza. Now I can't even tell you how many pizza pies I've crushed. It's just been amazing. So and it's in realizing that on those days when you don't see progress, you are getting better, that I think the approach really matters. Because I would say it probably takes me about 3, maybe even 6 months sometimes to finally notice a boost of progress. And my
Mm.
progress is very much like a staircase. It's not just a flat line, but as you trend line it over time, it's so upward and outward kind of trajectory. So I think it's important to just keep that in mind, that all of that power, all that progress is built on just daily habits to keep moving forward. It's not about just pure intensity. So much of it is about that consistency over long periods of time.
Yeah, yeah, very good. Okay, let's move on to purpose. That's the second part of our happy formula. And I've observed that major life transformations, these great big discoveries of purpose, often come from devastation, addiction, abuse, disease, death, disaster, as in your case, something awful strips a life to its core, resulting in a big and often unexpected change. However, in my book, Turning Inspiration into Action, I share the transformational process that I've used to discover the purpose of my life using inspiration. So, how about you, Robert? Was there a specific moment or event or crisis or inspiration that revealed to you the unique and distinct purpose you were meant to live?
Yes, I remember it so well. So, just to give you a little context, I used to coach youth rugby camps over at Jesuit High School in Sacramento, where I learned to play rugby, come back in the summers from Cal over to Sacramento. And there was this one camper there whose name was Talon. Youth rugby camp, everyone's like 10 to 14 years old. I think he was around 13, 14. He was one of the smaller kids on the field, but he played with heart. He's just like a Rudy type. And I remember I'd give him the ball and pick him up so we could go score. So imagine me, 6'5", D1 athlete, just breaking ankles left and right on these little kids. And I'm putting a stiff Heisman on little Jimmy so Tom can have his moment. We shared this real bond. And it was around 5 days after my injury that the high school was hosting a prayer service for me, praying for my healing, my strength. And then my dad shows me this picture on his phone of someone who I don't recognize, but he's obviously fighting for his life. His hair is very white and thin. Body is just skin and bones. Skin is very pale. And my dad tells me that this kid is Talon, and Talon was fighting stage 4 cancer.
Oh,
And this picture was accompanied by a message, and it read along the lines of Talon wanted so badly to be at this prayer service to pray for Robert, but
oh,
instead has to be undergoing chemotherapy. And the message goes on further to describe that interactions we had at this camp, but it closes with this line that just changed my life, and it seared into my soul. And it said, "Stay strong and keep smiling, Robert. Your strength helps Talon stay strong too." And
oh,
it was in that moment that I realized my purpose, that it's not going from point A to point B on my feet. It's taking what should have been the worst thing that ever happened to me and transforming it into a gift that I can share with others. So that's what's kept me going this whole time. It's that selfless purpose to inspire people. It all started there just about 5 days after my injury.
Yeah, well, thank God for Talon. Is he still alive?
He ended up passing about 4 years after his cancer
Oh,
diagnosis, but he died a winner and he
yeah,
died a fighter, and his spirit lives on in me and so many others. And I hope the listeners who are listening to this right now, take that inspiration that he provided and bring it into their lives and their families and their communities. Because while he passed, he did so much more in about 18 years than many of us do with 100. And
yeah,
it was taking on that challenge.
yeah. And when you were talking before about about Kaizen and how you make progress, and you don't know if you'll be able to advance, that was all a discussion about your physicality.
Yeah.
But even in that, there's the giving that you're doing. That Libby and I were talking about this just before the show comes on the air. So let me ask it this way: there is a when we talk about power, which we did in the earlier section, there's a difference between physical power, I'm sorry, natural earthly powers and
Yeah.
supernatural powers. Natural powers of physical fitness, mental fitness, financial fitness,
Mhm.
maybe even emotional fitness. Those are all finite. When you use them, they're gone and you need to replenish them.
Mhm.
Spiritual energy sounds like Talon had a lot of spiritual energy. It's infinite. The more you
Mhm.
love, the more love I pour into you and in this show today. When the show is over, I'm going to have even more. And
Yeah.
so it's infinite. So talk about your friend Talon and your current purpose and this idea of earthly versus spiritual energy and the power of giving.
It's so true. It's so important. I mean, because Talon, he's passed. He has no earthly power now. But here we are talking about his story. Every single time someone asks me about my purpose, every single time I speak, he's got a whole chapter in my book. I talk about this kid, Talon, and his fight, and what he inspired me to do through that message that his mom shared. And that's that spiritual power. That's something that transcends our own life and our own time here on this world. And I think it's all rooted in love. I think that love, that giving love, that's what transcends time. That's what transcends that earthly power. I mean, at the end of the day, our physical fitness, our mental fitness, financial success, all of that is just built upon what our spirit is able to produce in us. Our body, our minds are not going to go for what our spirit does not command it to do. I think it really all comes down to that. So if you can focus on anything, focus on those internal qualities, really building that up. That's the foundation that's going to take you through any storm and help you climb any mountain you're looking for in your life.
Yeah, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And then the last cap on that,
Hmm.
the as you mentioned, Talon's earthly energy is gone. He's gone. He's not on this earth anymore, but
Yeah.
his lives on. And so talk about the fact that even though our earthly energy goes from full throttle to zero, it always will. Your spiritual energy can get more and more strong until the very last day that you take a breath.
And even just
I
continue
mean,
after that, I think is the most incredible part of that. And that's found in giving. That's found in selfless purpose. When we look back on our lives, we shouldn't just think of like, all the money we made and stored in our bank account. You can't take it with you. And once your earthly energy is gone, all those things vanish too. What endures is the impact that you made on others.
yeah,
So I think that's really what to focus on in life. And when you're looking and for purpose, it must be selfless. I think of it a lot of times as like a gym analogy. Whenever I would have this like goal and I'd really just commit to it for myself, it always just flubbered out. That's the New Year's resolution that we all set every year. And then 2 weeks later, it's gone. But when it's rooted in that selfless purpose, and when you have that accountability partner who's waiting for you at the gym, you're going to sustain better. And I think it's that impact, that selfless impact that gives us so much more. And it also just helps our legacy and what we're able to do in impacting others to continue so much further than if we're just serving ourselves.
yeah. And just one more way to think about that, because you mentioned having the personal goal. You also mentioned squatting over 400 pounds or whatever
Yeah.
you were able to do in your studly days. If that's a personal goal, that's one thing. But if it's to make your team better, you'll walk through fire to make your
Yeah.
team better. And your goals and your discipline and everything that goes to achievement gets that much it's not easier, that much more fulfilling.
Yes.
Or I'm not getting the right word, but you did it, I did it. Those were some of the most grueling times in my life, and they were exhilarating and fun because I was doing them with my teammates.
Yeah.
What you're doing right now is Talon's part of your team, but also you're creating a different team. But talk about how that process is similar to you.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think the only reason I'm continuing on this journey is so that I can share it with others. And every morning I wake up and I see messages on my phone of like, Rob, you're a beast. It's amazing what you're doing. Or confiding me in a personal story, something like,
Yeah,
hey, I've been having a really tough day today, and this just lifted me right up out of it. Thank you. Like, that's my team. These people who I've never met and I never will probably meet, giving me their love, giving me their support, and me in turn sharing with them my life and my fight through this struggle. It's this really symbiotic relationship that has it's helped them to perform better. It's helped me to perform better. That's my team. And, I have my beautiful wife, I work for my beautiful child. He's on my team, my family and friends, my Cal rugby team, and all these people I know personally, but it extends so far beyond that. And I wouldn't be here if it weren't for that team. I wouldn't have survived pneumonia. I wouldn't have pushed this far. There's no way if it was all for myself.
yeah, yeah. Very good. Beautiful, Robert. So let's take a quick commercial break so our sponsor can spread a little love with our audience.
Are you ready to transform your life? At happyliving.com, we've discovered 4 keys to help you live with purpose, joy, and significance. Unlock your truth with the Happy Quiz. Unlock your happy formula with inspiring stories from the Something Significant Show. Unlock your roadmap to happiness with our free ebook, Making Your Mark of Significance. And unlock your inspired life with our life-changing e-course, The Philosophy of You and Your Inspired Life. This is your time to shine. Go to happyliving.com now and click Unlock the Power of You. Unlock your power. Live your best life. happyliving.com.
Kits for Kids are materials handed out by first responders to children during emergencies. The goal of distributing these kits is to mitigate the emotional trauma children experience during distressing events. These kits also help foster positive interactions between first responders and children, building trust and reducing anxiety. These kits feature toys and activities for children to engage with, providing distractions and stimulation. Models of first responder vehicles help children familiarize themselves with emergency personnel. Additionally, the kits include noise-canceling headphones and raincoats to help comfort children during distressing events. You can directly support Kits for Kids in several ways, including donating directly or sponsoring fundraising, volunteering your company for team building, or referring a law enforcement or first responder department to receive kits. Thank you for your support. Please visit www.wytv7.org for more information.
And we're back, and this is the Something Significant Show, and I'm your host, Matt Gersper. My special guest star today is Robert Paylor, a former elite rugby player whose life changed in an instant with a catastrophic injury that left him paralyzed. Told he would never use his arms or legs again, Robert chose faith, grit, and perseverance over despair. Today, through his book, Paralyzed to Powerful, his speaking engagements, and his daily commitment to growth, he shows us what it means to redefine strength and rise again. Robert, I just love how you embody becoming powerful again. And I think you're going to love this article that I found called The Science Behind the Power of Giving. It says that the simple act of giving can become a gateway to discovering your reason for being on the planet. Science confirms that when we give our time, our talents, and our treasures, it doesn't just help others, but it transforms us too. It helps us overcome obstacles, it helps us find meaning, and it helps us discover our purpose. So I updated our formula. power plus purpose plus giving equals really happy. So how about you, Robert? Has giving your time, talents, and treasure been a powerful pathway for discovering your purpose and for getting through hardships and for bringing real meaning into your life?
Yes, giving has been crucial, and it's the thing that's really it's tied in that power and that purpose too. I don't think I would have my power if it weren't through giving, because
Mhm.
my real power is in the way I'm able to inspire. I don't think I'd have my purpose if it weren't through giving, because so much of my purpose is rooted in my ability to give this story and these tools to others. So giving really ties so many of these things together. And I mean, it's meant everything to me. It's the reason why I continue to going forward. It's the reason why I wouldn't even wish this injury never happened. Now, I
Mm.
think when people hear me say that, they think I'm either a liar or a lunatic. And trust me, I'm not either. When you look back at these stories, one of them I shared of Talon, when I'm talking to people who are like, Robert, I have stage 4 cancer. I just lost a loved one. I'm going through the hardest thing I've ever gone through right now. But through witnessing your fight, I'm able to keep moving forward. How could I possibly wish that away? Now, if all I was doing was searching for that physicality, of course I would wish this injury away. I don't have nearly what I used to have from that physical standpoint, but from that ability to help people, that really meaning in my life, this is something I have now that I never would have had if all I did was just keep playing rugby. It's because I broke my neck that I've been able to give. And it's through giving that I've really transformed what should have been this horribly tragic situation into a real life of meaning, purpose, a gift, something that I wouldn't wish away. It's all through giving that that was achieved.
Now, so in your case, we talked a little bit about this, how we go from full energy to no energy. And in
Mhm.
your case, it was in an instant.
Yeah.
And in many other cases, for people that are listening, it's this slow boil of the, on the stove. Now, wait a second. There's actually a great poem I've it's called A Golden Pool of Magic. And at the end it says, at the end of your life, you smile. It says, it's like you smile at a pretty girl in a bar and she calls you sir. It just
Yeah.
happened. So give your insight to those of us that have slowly lost our earthly energy, our earthly power, and how we can transfer that into purpose and replenish that power with spiritual power like you're doing.
Yeah, I think you have to be really clear about what you want with your life and realize that you got one life. That, sometimes when things are going really well, it's easy to just put our head on the pillow at the end of the day and just expect to wake up, just expect to keep having more and more and more days. And I was 20 years old thinking I had my entire life ahead of me. And then after this injury, just a few hours later, I had my doctor telling me that I might not ever wake up again.
Wow.
So I think it's important to realize just how fragile life really is, how much a gift each day really is, and then be really clear about your vision. What do you want to do with this one life, this one body, this one spirit that you have? Do you want to look back on the end of your life and think of all the things that you didn't do, or think of all those things that you are proud of, the impact that you made on your life? I think in the end of the day, when it comes down to success and challenges, all these things, you just have to want it. You have
Yeah.
to want it as bad as this quadriplegic wants to walk again. So dream big, dream bold, because in the end of the day, it's not always about what your vision is, it's about what your vision does. Does your
Mm,
vision get you up out of bed in the morning? Does your
mm.
vision keep you moving forward and making a positive impact on others' lives? So think about like that hunger, that desire, that appetite, and what you're going to do with each day, each gift that comes your way.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Okay, so the science tells us that giving to others brings real meaning to our lives. And the joy we feel when we're doing that fourth element of significance, doing work that creates value for others, that confirms it. But there's something more than just the giving, Robert. You see, I believe that the real magic of life comes when you're giving from living in your purpose, because that's where the joy flows, not just to the receiver and not just to the giver too, but even to people that are witnessing the giving. So Robert, I'd love our audience to witness what that magic looks like in your life. So please sit back, open your heart, and have a listen to what people are saying about the impact that you're making in their lives because you're giving from living in your purpose. One person said, so moving were his words around mindset, mental diet, gratitude, and resiliency that it moved me to tears. Another said, I've never heard a crowd audibly gasp, audibly cheer, and audibly squirm around together in emotional turmoil and then rise again in unison. He continued, it was easily the best, most inspiring thing I've ever seen in my life, and I don't expect I'll ever see it again. Another said, we've had famous keynote speakers like Coach Don Shula, Cal Ripken Jr., and actor Leonard Nimoy. All amazing, but without hesitation, I can say my audience loved Robert more than any other keynote I've ever put on the stage. Others said, a beacon of hope and encouragement to everyone. Authentic, brilliant, commanding, a man of integrity, courageous, engaging, enthralling, focused, fully present, and funny too, graceful, humble, masterful, memorable, motivating, generous, energetic, optimistic, and kind, persistent, prepared. He far exceeded all of my expectations, relatable, resilient, and strong, remarkable, extraordinary, emotional, tenacious, thought-provoking, and wise. Robert invests into his audience. He captivates them with his moving and personal story, and then weaves his story into insightful, practical lessons that leave a lasting impression on everyone in the room. We all feel richer having had time with him. His story is beyond, she wrote in all caps, beyond inspirational, and his voice will change the world for the better. You'll laugh, you'll cry, but more importantly, you'll be moved to action to support and help others. He touched everyone's heart and inspired us to prioritize our mental diet to achieve the seemingly impossible. When Robert implores you to face what paralyzes you, you'll see the power of his message. And finally, this person said simply, every living, breathing human being should hear Robert's inspirational message. So, my friend, how does all that incredible love make you feel?
Oh my God. Well, Matt, I'm blushing as red as a tomato. All of that. And it's everything. Like that's what when I'm like when I'm thinking of what am I doing with my life and I'm kind of giving myself my own life review, like that's what I want to see. And that's what gets me up out of bed in the morning. And that's what's transformed this whole challenge. I mean, you think breaking my neck would be the worst thing that could ever happen to me. Now I think it's maybe one of the best things that ever happened to me because of being able to make that impact on others. And you wouldn't have been able to read a single one of those words, those messages, if I didn't break my neck. So it gives so much meaning and purpose to my life and to this challenge. And I mean, if you would have told me on day one, Robert, you'll one day never wish away that this injury ever happened to you. I couldn't at the time, but I would have loved to slap that person in the face.
Right, right.
Now being able to see this impact that my story is making on others, I'm so grateful for it. And like hearing all those messages, it just makes me want to do more for more people. And because it gives me so much to give.
There's a Major League Baseball player named Ed Hearn. Have you ever heard of that name?
I haven't.
Ed Hearn. He's been a guest on the show, and he won the World Championships. Long story I won't go into. But after he finally got up to the majors, won the World Championship, being the pinnacle of the whole shooting match.
Yeah.
Then he went into this downward spiral of health that has led from one issue to another issue, 3 different kidney transplants, and just a nightmare of health issues that ruined his career. And but he said the same thing that you said. I wouldn't trade it for $1 million.
Yeah.
And that's the message I want people to hear, because it's really not about your circumstances. It's how you respond to them. And it's easy for me to say all my legs have been always working. At least now, you never know what today is going to bring. But when you say it, it has this impact that I hope the audience hears. That is this quote. A friend gave it to me many, many years ago when I was trying to achieve something that was just out of my reach.
Mm-hmm.
And it's your day belongs to another's dream. It's about gratitude. And your day, as you're living as a quadriplegic, there are people, I was thinking about this question because I wasn't sure if I was going to bring it up, but there are people, if this injury happened to you in an impoverished country, game over.
Yeah.
So there's people saying, man, look at his life. Or he's this great big speaker now, or look at what people say about him. Your day belongs to other people's lives, and you and Ed embrace that, even in the muck. So
Hmm.
give us your thoughts on your day belongs to another's dream.
I absolutely love that quote. I mean, it's so true. I think this is biblical, right? Like it's in losing yourself that you find yourself.
Yep.
It's in focusing on others that you find what you're here to do, like what you're on this earth for. I mean, I so clearly just found that with my first kid being born a few weeks ago. You know, here I am holding this little baby in my arms. I'm like, you have done nothing for me but just show up, and I would
Yeah.
die for you. Like I'll
Yeah.
give anything for you and everything for you. And you know, that's an approach I have with my child. And I mean, I try to spread that kind of love, you know, further than just my insular family too. That every day I wake up and I feel like hitting that snooze button again. What gets me up and going is knowing that there's people who are counting on me, and I have an ability today to make a difference on someone's life in a way that I'm not aware of yet, but I do believe is out there. And that's what really motivates me and helps me move forward and just use all these gifts, this opportunity that I have.
Yeah. And you're able to reach people that you couldn't have reached as a successful, healthy, big, strong rugby player at the same age right now.
Not even close. I wouldn't have even been close.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, folks. That's what this show is all about. We're here, Robert and me, and all our guest stars too, to encourage you, our listeners, to search for and find that same magic in your life. It's available for you. It's available for everyone. That's what I believe. And it comes from this great big happy circle. Giving your time, talents, and treasures is a powerful pathway to discovering your purpose. And then giving from living in your purpose brings a profound joy to your life and to the lives of those around you, too. So it seems that giving leads to purpose and giving from purpose leads to joy. So, Robert, if I'm going to capture the entire exponential power of the happy formula, let me tweak it just a little bit more to power times purpose times giving equals happy to the third power. And that's really, truly, deeply happy. Does that sound about right to you?
It sounds absolutely perfect. You know, and allow me to add one thing that I think is so key to happiness as well. The perspective. I think perspective in many ways is a great key to happiness. And because it's one of those things where you said like your happiness, you know, your success isn't determined by your circumstances, it's about your response to those circumstances. I think perspective is something that we can have a lot of control over, and it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
change our circumstance, but it reframes how we look at it. There's this phrase that I've used throughout my recovery journey. I still use to this day. It's compared to what? So I'll be like, man,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really tired, but compared to what?
Yeah.
This is a lot that I'm going through right now, but compared to what? Like, there's so much that I
Yeah.
can do. There's so much that I do have. I don't want us to dismiss our challenges. I think that's really unhealthy if we just dismiss our challenges. But that phrase, it helps us to put our challenges into perspective, because the reality is there's millions of people in this world who would rather be in our situation than their
100%.
own. That's
100%.
perspective. And that is like, that's such a key component, I think, to happiness, is not just spending all of our time looking up at the people who seemingly have more than us, but spend some time looking down at those people who would give anything that we have right now. And it helps us to appreciate those gifts, those blessings that we have in the current moment.
Yeah. Right on. And compared to what? It's a phrase that's great. I love that. I came up with one that is, you are better than you otherwise would be
Mm,
had you not put the effort in. So
hmm.
maybe I haven't reached my goal. Maybe you haven't, got your marbles where you want them exactly right. But you're better than you otherwise would be without effort, without the
Yeah,
goal, without the constant grind. And that helps me I'm 60, I'll be 65 this summer. I can't lift the weights like I used to as a young athlete, but I'm in better shape than I otherwise would be because I do put in an effort on a regular basis. So compared to what and better than you otherwise would be, and we're going to have a lot of happy people.
totally. Yeah, to add on to that, one thing I like to say is we've made it through 100% of our hard days. So like that
Correct.
reflection of like realizing on your efforts and where you've gotten now, like when you're
Yeah.
thinking like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. It's like, how many times have you told yourself that in the past? You know, look at where you are. You are resilient. You do have these tools in you. Use them.
Yeah. All right, Robert, let's wrap things up the lightning round. I love the quiet power of words and the capacity for great quotes to change lives. So while preparing for our conversation, a handful of these things bubble to the surface, not because they're fancy or famous, but because they carry the same grit and resilience and determination that runs through your story. So I'm going to read each one to you and then ask you to share the very first thoughts. Some people think word. No, it's not word. The thoughts that come to your mind. No filtering, no fixing, just truth straight from your heart. Ready?
Let's do it.
Here we go. From Psalm chapter 34, verse 18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit.
Yeah, my thought is I'm never alone. That we're never alone. And it's in our darkest moments that we're most able to connect with the creator of the universe and know that there was not a single moment we spent on this earth or off of it that we don't have someone who loves us.
Yeah. You mentioned that darkness, light in the darkness before, and I
Yeah.
almost mentioned it, but just this morning I posted um, insight on day and night, and it's all about the having the light in the darkness.
Yeah. Yeah, how amazing.
So this is from Viktor Frankl. He said, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves.
I mean that's just amazing. I love Victor and I think it shows how much power we have within ourselves. The best piece of advice that I ever got was right before my life-threatening surgery. I got it from my spiritual director. I wanted to have a someone come into the room and pray with me before I went into the surgery. He told me something very similar. He was like, throughout this journey, there's gonna be so many things you can't control, but the one thing you'll always have control over is your mindset. So your
Mm-hmm.
ability to wake up and give a best effort and fight this is up to you, and this injury can't take that away from you. I love that quote from Viktor Frankl. I absolutely love his book, Man's Search for Meaning.
Oh man,
Just an incredible human being.
yeah, yeah. From Helen Keller, one to another. From Helen Keller, character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened.
Yeah, that's something that I think I've grown most with, and it's really been spiritual growth within me. My view on suffering. I used to view suffering as something that was just supposed to be kind of prayed away. That like,
Mm,
if God has this plan for me and this plan is good, how could suffering ever happen to me? Because suffering's not good. But we think of like, what is the symbol of the Christian faith? It's a torture device.
no, no doubt.
Yeah, 2000 years, people would have looked at that and chills would have gone down their spine. It's only through that suffering that we've seen the greatest example of love and giving and salvation that has ever existed on this earth. So, great success doesn't come without great adversity. When you have a challenge, look for the gifts that's in it and the strength that comes from it, not just praying it away.
I'm glad you said that about the torture device because I've thought of last summer I was driving all across the country and the crosses everywhere, churches everywhere, and
Yeah,
I had that very thought. This is like, could you imagine having a gas chamber as
right.
the symbol of Christianity? But we
Exactly.
do, and it's beautiful somehow. Um, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Okay, this is from Ernest Hemingway. He says, "The world breaks everyone, and afterwards some are strong at the broken places."
Mm. Yeah, I think sometimes when you're that much broken down, you have the opportunity to rebuild yourself in the way that you want. Sometimes we can build these bad habits, we can build this bad identity about ourselves. In some ways, there's some liberation when we're so broken that all those bad habits and all those bad identity issues are removed from us because we don't have them anymore. And then it's
Mhm.
up to us to choose how we want to rebuild ourselves. We can go back into those bad habits, or we can choose to build something new. So in some ways, that brokenness can really be a gift and an opportunity if you use it well.
Yeah, yeah, very good. From C.S. Lewis, he said, hardships often prepare ordinary people for extraordinary destiny.
It was kind of like what I was talking about with like suffering and what Helen Keller was talking about, that great success isn't built without great adversity. And it's the old adage of like no pain, no gain, all that stuff. It's really only through going to our darkest moments that we're able to rebuild ourselves. nobody sat on their couch every day of their life and never did anything. They took on discomfort and sought it, and through that they got better.
Yeah. This is our show anchor from Goth who said, whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Begin it now.
Yeah, I love that. I just like, we can read like all the self-help books we want. We can get all these formulas. But at the end of the day, you need to find something and stick to it. Like commit to it. Just start. Get action in your life. And because that momentum is really what we need to be able to experience that growth in our lives. It's not just like that, like that one thing we need to learn. It's just you need to start. You need to find something like what we're talking about right now and start going for it. Implement it in your life right now. Don't wait another day. Just start right now and watch it start changing your life.
Yeah, I was reading a book the other day and it was about entrepreneurship. And one of the quotes was, what kills a lot of entrepreneurial ideas is people try to get everything lined up and perfect before they launch. And this guy was saying, no, get an idea, launch it out there. Somebody will tell you it sucks. And then you can say, well, why does it suck?
Yeah.
And then you can start fixing it and improving it. And I think that's what Goth is talking about. Let's just go.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Once you start going, you get these real examples. You can get feedback. You can start tweaking things. The real world is the best way to learn. So get out there and start getting active.
The other thing that if you, in the Goth quotes, and I'll just talk about this for a minute, if you would,
Yeah.
it talks about once you get in motion, so once you start, then I don't remember all the words, but he says all sorts of chance meetings and opportunities and providence steps in to help you in that what you're trying to achieve. Talk about that. So once you move, then the world moves or God moves or life moves to support you.
Yeah.
The guy on the couch, nobody's moving to help him.
Totally. Yeah, you have to make your intentions clear. You have to ask for help. This injury has so changed my views on asking for help. It's not the weak thing to do and not this last case resort. It should be the first thing that we do. It's very brave. It's a very strong thing to do to ask for help. But people aren't going to give their time and their energy to us if they don't see that we're actually dedicated. And the best way to show that you're dedicated to something is not just talking about it. It's about doing it, about seeing the work that you're putting in every day, the outcomes that you're looking to achieve. That only comes from that action. So it is amazing how that works. Of just like when you start proving yourself, you start putting yourself out there, people want to be a part of that positivity because it's infectious.
Yeah, very good, Robert. So those quotes and your responses reveal the fall, the fight, and the faith of your journey, and the hope to keep moving forward when remaining still must have seemed easier. So thank you for sharing your heart with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Made my day.
Wonderful. And if Robert's story has inspired you, if it's lifted your spirit and got you thinking about strengthening your inner resolve, then I invite you to share that energy with the incredible team at WITV7 who make this show possible. They're a 501c3 charity on a mission to educate, empower, and encourage people in need. Every gift matters, big and small. With your support and their tireless work, lives are being transformed and our circle of love keeps expanding. So donate today because it'll do good and it'll make you feel good too. Robert, I love the quiet courage you bring to every word, the way you face reality honestly while still choosing hope. And I admire the grit and faith and perseverance that it takes to rebuild a life when the future is rewritten in an instant. And I'm super happy that you've shared your resilient, faithful, and unbreakable spirit on our show today. Will you please take a minute or two and share any parting remarks you'd like to leave our audience?
Yeah. I like to oftentimes close on like, what does true success actually mean? Because my day on goal one was to be wheelchair independent. I'm in a wheelchair right now. I've spent the last 8.5 years in this wheelchair. And statistics say that I will spend the rest of my life trying to get out of this wheelchair and might not make it happen. Probably won't make it happen. I got to think, does that mean I'm a failure? Does that mean I failed? I think the answer is absolutely not. Because I wake up each day with that power, that purpose, that giving nature in myself. And it gives me a sense of joy, gratitude, and meaning in my life That's what I'm most proud of. I think that's what's the truest source of my success. It's not these physical accomplishments, it's those internal qualities. So when you're reflecting on what you're doing with your life and what you've accomplished, really lean into those internal qualities. That's where your true success lies, and that's what I'm most proud of in my life.
Very good. Thank you, Robert. And friends, it's because of stories like Robert's and listeners like you that we've been named one of the top 100 life purpose podcasts worldwide, currently ranked at 17th. So thank you. I appreciate your support for our mission and for sharing these stories of inspiration and purpose. I also want to thank WITV7 for hosting and promoting our show so we can keep interviewing inspiring guest stars like Robert and reaching folks just like you ready to create your own extraordinary lives. And most especially, thank you, viewers and listeners. You'll find links to all things Robert Paylor in the show notes, including his book, Paralyzed to Powerful, speaking engagements, and the work he's doing to help others face life-altering adversity with grit and faith and hope. So find him, friend him, follow his journey, explore the heart, strength, and perspective behind a life that proves never is never the final word. We put it all in the show notes. And if his stories moved you, consider sharing this episode with somebody who needs to hear it today. From me to you, dear friends, I love you and I want you to be really, truly, deeply happy too. So go to happyliving.com right now and click Unlock Here and start unlocking the life you were meant to live. One that's filled with purpose, joy, and real significance. And as you start unlocking, think about what we can do together, you and me, to improve the happy of your world, one person at a time. Till next time, I'm Matt Gersper. You are awesome. And this is the Something Significant Show. And we're out.